Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Nakamarina binti Mat Isha. I'm from JBA 2425D. So today I'm going to present on my article review with the title "The Dirt on Money Laundering." So actually, money laundering is an illegal process of concealing the origin of money obtained from illegal activities and then go through the process of launder to make it clean. For example, the money that obtained from activities such as drug trafficking, kidnapping for ransom, fraud, and also terrorist funding. So, based on the statistic made by the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, the amount of money laundered globally is around 2 trillion US dollar per year. So, we can see that money laundering is a very serious problem that may affect the global economy. So there are three stages of money laundering. The first one is placement, layering, and integration. So placement is the process of moving the dirty money into legitimate economy and away from its sources. So the money will be placed into banking and financial institutions such as commercial bank, investment bank, brokerage house, and others. So the placement of money will occur in many ways, including the current exchange, smuggling, smurfing, and also placement into offshore organization. Layering is the second stage of money laundering process. So it involves making money hard to detect as possible and also move it further away from the sources. So usually it was done by layering multiple financial transactions to obscure the financial audit trail and separate the link from the original crime. So usually the criminal will transfer the money through multiple countries within a short time so that the bank or any organization cannot detect their illegal activities. Okay, and the last stage is integration. So we can see the laundering money process is successful when they put back the clean money to the economy. So most of the common way integrating money into the economy is through buying the property or luxury asset. So when the laundering money process enters this stage, it usually becomes hard and impossible to detect because it's already changed into asset and most of them will reassign the ownership in order to prevent from the bank to detect their activities. There are 4 issues or factors that may contribute to the increasing number of money laundering. So the first one is from the financial institution itself, whereby they enable to identify the accounts that are being laundered. This issue happened in the case of HSBC that was prosecuted in 2012 of being involved in the cash laundering because they doesn't analyze the flow of cash laundered and transacted by its various branch worldwide. So they approved their client transaction without carrying out any significant inspection regarding the sources of money. So the next issue is regarding the ethical violation made by their employee. So there are several cases related to this issue, and one of them is a banker, Matthias Krul, who was pleaded guilty for joining a group of money launderers that used real estate and fraudulent investment scheme to hide the illicit fund taken from petroleers de Venezuela. Okay, the third issue stated in this article is about the current law that are not in line with the technology advancement. So nowadays, criminals use new method to launder money, which is by using cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency is a digital or virtual currency that use cryptography for security. So this problem make money laundering more difficult to detect by the responsible organizations such as Financial Action Task Force and Anti-Money Laundering because they can easily change the address and make it impossible for the investigator to trace and track the transaction. So in 2008, Japan had over 700 cases of money laundering by using cryptocurrency. During this time, Japan had struggled to deal with the money laundering. So, in 2008, Financial Action Task Force gave Japan the lowest rating and considered Japan as having insufficient legal framework. So, the common cryptocurrency money laundering practice are tumblers, gaming site, prepaid cards, unregulated exchange, peer-to-peer network, and also tumblers.
Today, cryptocurrencies have become a global phenomenon known by most people, but understood by few. In 2018, you'll have a hard time finding a major bank, accounting firm, software company, or government that hasn't researched cryptocurrencies or started a blockchain project. Beyond the noise and the press releases, many people often fail to understand the basic concepts. So let's walk through the whole story. What are cryptocurrencies? Satoshi invented Bitcoin in 2008 as a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. To realize digital cash, you need a payment network with accounts, balances, and transactions. That's easy to understand. One major problem every payment network has to solve is to prevent double spending. That is, to prevent one entity from spending the same amount twice. Usually, this is done by a central server who keeps records of all the balances. In a decentralized network, you don't have this server, so you need every single entity of the network to do this job. Every peer in the network needs to have a full list with all the transactions to check if future transactions are valid, or an attempt to double spend. But how can these entities keep a consensus about these records? If the peers on the network disagree about one single minor balance, everything breaks. They need absolute consensus. Nobody knew how to achieve this until Satoshi proved it was possible. Cryptocurrencies are a key part of the solution. To illustrate this, we'll look at the transactions on the network. A transaction is a file that says, Bob gives X Bitcoin to Alice, and is signed digitally by Bob. Once signed, the transaction is broadcasted to the network, sent from one peer to every other peer. This is standard P2P technology. Nothing special happening here. After a specific amount of time, the transaction gets confirmed. Only miners can confirm transactions. This is their job in a cryptocurrency network. They take transactions, stamp them as legitimate, and spread them in the network. After a transaction is confirmed by a miner, every node has to add it to its database. It has to become part of the blockchain. For this job, the miners are rewarded with cryptocurrency, for example, bitcoins. Anybody can be a miner. They just need to use some of their computer's power to qualify for the task. Every miner competes to solve a cryptographic puzzle. After finding a solution, a miner can confirm the transaction and add it to the blockchain. As an incentive to do this, they then receive a payment from the network in the form of a cryptocurrency. In this way, a network of independent actors are economically incentivized to maintain the legitimacy of the transaction history. So that's the gist of it. Cryptocurrencies are the key to the complex digital cash problem that Satoshi solved: how to maintain integrity and consensus across independent and potentially malicious actors. Cryptocurrencies are essentially the monetary incentive offered to anyone willing to keep the network secure.
So the last issue stated in this article is about the politicians and elites who always hide their financial asset and source of income to avoid paying taxes by moving their money to the foreign bank or invest to the property and reassign the ownership. We can see the example of this issue in the case of Danske Bank that became a hub to launder money from corruption and tax evasion for over 9 years. Around 230 billion of illegal funds flew through the Estonian branch from the client in the Russia, Ukraine, and Moldova. So, in order to curb this money laundering from happen, the intergovernmental organizations such as Financial Action Task Force and Anti-Money Laundering are responsible to detect and control money laundering that happen around the world. These two agencies address the guideline and policy that must be followed by institutions under anti-money laundering. So, if there is any suspicious activity happen, then the bank will be the first one that will approach the customer to conduct the further investigation. Other than that, Financial Action Task Force also had established one program that known as Know Your Customer in order to prevent the banking institution from being used by the criminal as a spot for their illegal activities. Some of the guidelines on anti-money laundering by Bank Negara Malaysia are customer acceptance policy, customer due diligence, record keeping, ongoing monitoring, and also suspicious transaction reporting. So, customer acceptance policy is used to secure the relationship between the institution and the client for purpose to measure the risks associated with the money laundering. So, before the institution proceed anything, they need to conduct customer due diligence by collecting all the information about the client. So, then the institution need to retain all the information in order to make an audit and also to be traceable by the financial institution in case anything happen. So, ongoing monitoring is required in order to keep update about the client activities and transaction. So if they suspect any suspicious activity, they must immediately report to the Bank Negara Malaysia, and the bank will start investigation with the cooperation from anti-money laundering.
With our obligations under the money laundering regulations, and to avoid these outcomes, we carry out client due diligence, CDD, before accepting new business, and continue to monitor the client throughout the relationship. Although CDD obligations differ in different jurisdictions, generally this includes the process of verifying the identity of the client. To do this, you need to obtain documents, data, or other information from a reliable and independent source. It is usually also necessary to verify the identity of any beneficial owners. The next step is to obtain information on the rationale, purpose, and intended nature of the business relationship. You need to ensure that you know enough about your client and your client's normal activities to be able to recognize anything unusual about transactions or instructions. Then, if you have a suspicion of money laundering, or a reasonable cause to be suspicious, you must report it to our firm's Money Laundering Reporting Officer, MLRO, or other appropriate person. The obligation to remain aware and report a suspicion continues throughout the client relationship. This is known as ongoing monitoring. The intention is to help you stay alert to any unusual activity that may require a revision of your risk assessment. For example, a transaction may be suspicious because it's inconsistent with the size or nature of the client's normal business activities. On the other hand, a transaction which may seem suspicious to someone who does not understand the client's business may not be suspicious if the client's normal business activities are understood. If you have any concerns that either your client or any third party is engaged in money laundering, you must share your suspicions with the MLRO or other appropriate person, but no one else. Remember, it can be an offence to fail to report your suspicions, and it can also be a tipping-off offence to discuss your suspicions with anyone other than the appropriate reporting authority in our firm. So, stay alert and be sure to report any suspicions.
So, I have few opinions on how to avoid the money laundering from being happen, such as improvement of technology and also increased transparency in the financial institution itself. Firstly, technology expertise need to produce a new system that are more sophisticated and capable of detecting suspicious activities. So we need a system that can monitor a large number of client transactions in details at the same time. This is because in day-to-day basis, we have a numerous of transactions worldwide. And I believe the new technology investment can help the financial institution to detect the money laundering activities. Okay, the second way is increased transparency in the financial institution itself. As we know, trust is the key to the financial institution, and they need to be transparent in order to achieve and maintain that trust from the customer. So, moreover, employers also need to comply with ethical code and professional standards that are being addressed. Based on my observation also, there are few severe impact of money laundering to the economy and political aspect. In the aspect of economy, money laundering may cause various threats towards consumption and also dangerous for the long-term impact. This is because in money laundering, it involves the acquisition of the property such as real estate, jewelry, artworks, and also other luxury items. So this allows them to hide and clean their illegal activities without being suspicious. The cash inflow and outflow are easy for the launderer, with the rapid and uncontrolled inflow of money to the country, so the consumption, especially luxury consumption, will increase. Moreover, there will be a significant increase in import, export, foreign payment, inflation, interest rate, and also unemployment rate. Next, if money launderer succeeds in controlling a large portion of economy, he will attempt to increase his political influence and broaden his objective by interfering in election and also votes. In conclusion, I personally think that money laundering is a global threat, and one of the major challenges is to maintain the function of the international financial system. Although this activity is illegal, the number of cases that occur is still high. So all the effort that have been made will not be successful if there are people that are still conspiring with the criminals.